Last week, they showed up at my door, all smiles. My parents, my sister, the same people who hadn't called me in over a year. Mom brought cookies. Dad wore a fake grin. And my sister, Emily, was dressed like she was attending a business meeting. The air smelled like false sweetness and hidden motives. They sat in my living room complimenting the house they never helped me build. Then, Dad leaned forward, voice dripping with casual charm. So, we've been thinking, maybe it's time we discuss Grandpa and Grandma's estate. Hook 1. But what if the one thing they wanted was already out of their reach forever? And there it was, the reason for the smiles. I took a slow sip of coffee, watching their faces, pretending to think. Inside, I was already smiling because I knew something they didn't. The estate wasn't theirs to touch. Not anymore. 2 years ago, when my grandparents passed, the will was simple. Divide everything equally among our children. Except everything included their home, a coastal property valued at just over $3 million. My parents fought over it before the funeral flowers had even wilted. They wanted to sell, cash out. My sister wanted her share early. I was the quiet one, the invisible one, the one who handled the legal paperwork. Because you're good with details, honey. They didn't notice the details I changed. I spent nights poring over trust laws, inheritance protections, and real estate rules. My grandparents raised me, not them. They were the ones who paid for my schooling, who fed me when my parents forgot. So no, I wasn't going to let my family strip their memory for profit. The day before the will was finalized, I moved the estate quietly, legally into a private trust under my name. Not as an owner, as trustee, meaning I couldn't sell it for myself, but neither could they. It would remain untouchable, generating income for charitable work my grandparents supported. Exactly what they would have wanted. They never noticed. Not until the house didn't list for sale like they planned. At first, the calls were polite, then angry, then silent. For months, I heard nothing until last week. Hook 2. Want to know how one quiet signature saved a legacy and shocked a greedy family? So, Mom said, brushing imaginary lint off her sleeve. We thought since the property is still under your name, we could sell it now. Split it properly. Properly? My sister echoed, her voice sharp beneath the smile. I leaned back, studying them. Split it how? I asked. Dad grinned, relief flashing in his eyes. Equal shares, of course. We just need you to sign off. We already have a buyer interested. Of course they did. They always did. Plans built on assumptions wrapped in greed. I nodded slowly. That's interesting. Mom's smile widened. So, you'll agree. That's when I slid the folder across the table. 3 pages. Simple, clean, brutal. What's this? Emily frowned. The trust agreement, I said. I thought you might want to see who owns the estate now. She skimmed the page, then froze. Her eyes darted back and forth, reading faster. Her voice cracked. This says the property belongs to a foundation. Yes, I said calmly. The Hawthorne Foundation, named after Grandma's maiden name. It funds scholarships for low-income students. I'm the trustee, not the owner. Dad's face went white. Mom blinked like I'd spoken another language. You mean you gave it away? She hissed. No, I said. I protected it from you. The silence was thick enough to choke on. I watched the realization crawl across their faces. Years of entitlement unraveling in seconds. My sister slammed the folder shut. You can't do this. I already did, I replied. 2 years ago. They started shouting then, a chorus of disbelief, betrayal, fury. But I didn't flinch. I'd rehearsed this moment too many times. All those nights I spent sleeping in the estate's guest room, fixing leaks, repairing fences, while they debated what color tile would sell best once I was done. All those years they called me too soft, too sentimental. I learned. I adapted. I waited. They called it betrayal. I called it balance. Dad finally stood, trembling. You'll regret this. Family comes first. I met his gaze. Family comes first when they act like one. He had no answer. They left without another word, slamming the door behind them, their car tires squealing down the street. The cookies stayed on the table untouched. That night, I walked to the estate, my grandparents' home. The sunset hit the windows just right, making the whole place glow. I unlocked the gate and stood at the edge of the garden where Grandma used to plant roses. It was peaceful. It was safe. And it would stay that way. The Trust's first scholarship went out last month to a girl studying environmental law. I smiled when I read her thank you letter. "Your grandparents would be proud," she wrote. I think they would be. Because revenge doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it means preservation, making sure what was pure stays untouched by greed. And as for my parents and sister, they got exactly what they deserved. Nothing. But everything my grandparents wanted.